So in today's class, we are going to speak about the VPC. What is the meaning of VPC? Means virtual private cloud. So for example, sir, what is the purpose of using virtual private cloud? Means we are using servers, correct or not, sir? Servers we gonna create on like availability zones, US East 1A, US East 1B, US East 1C, like that. Whenever you are creating some servers, we need to have some protection for our servers or not, sir? Directly we are creating servers, so without protection we cannot create the servers. For that purpose, we are using your VPC concept. Which concept? VPC main purpose is nothing but it's a virtual private network. So like virtual private network is called as VPN, right? Why we use VPN in general? To access the websites from different locations, correct or not? Here also VPC is nothing but your virtual private cloud. That means you can create your own data center. That means you can give restriction and everything for your servers based upon your requirement. Clear now? To demonstrate the VPC, simple, I'll tell one example. In Kubernetes namespace, we have taken our house as example, right, sir? House and rooms. Here also the same example I'll take. So if you go and see, for my last class, I said the Kubernetes topic only. It is the cluster. Inside the cluster, you have the rooms, correct or not, sir? Here rooms are namespaces. Same example I'll take for the VPC. For example, these rooms are nothing but my servers. What are the rooms here? I'll make it clear. Delete. She is also delete. Delete everything. Why? Because I want to make it clean and plain. One second, guys. Currently, if you go and see now, sir, how many servers here I have, sir? 4 servers. So whenever we create servers in real time, we need to create a VPC. Why? Because for our privacy, for our security, and protect the prevention of data loss. So let's take the example of our home, sir. For example, if you go and see now, it is our home. Home is nothing but your VPC now. Inside the home, you are having rooms or not, sir? So whenever you have different rooms here, to isolate the room and to keep the room separately, we create one wall. It is our wall, for example. Sir, for example, if you are outside of the wall, can you able to see my rooms here? But if you come to inside of the wall only, you can able to see. Like that, whenever I want to access any server, first of all, I need to get the entrance. Here, VPC is going to provide the security for all of my servers. Without VPC, your servers are not protected. Why? Because anyone can access, right? With the help of VPC, you can create your own network. From the own network, you can access the servers which you want only. Fine. So what is the purpose of using VPC? Means, first of all, security is the primary concern. Second one, privacy. Third one, preventing loss of data. For example, if you have VPC for your server, it is going to be secure, sir. Why? Because no one can able to access. If you want to give permission, you need to install VPN on your local. Second thing, privacy. If you are not able to log into my server, can you see my data? Privacy or not, sir? If you can't see my data, can you able to store my data? All right. So this is the reason why we are using VPC. So basically, whenever if you are not comfortable when we need to use public network like cloud service like AWS in order to use their services, VPC provide an extra layer of security. Sir, currently we are using which service? AWS cloud service, correct or not, sir? AWS by default creates some VPC, that is default VPC. If we don't trust that VPC, what we can do is we can create our own VPC, depends upon our requirement. You can define the networks there, you can define the routes, you can define the traffic, and it can define internet gateway, NAT gateway, like lot of other things you want. You can define entire here. So here, it will not give only security, it will give about privacy as well. Not only apart from security is going to give the privacy. When we launch an instance, they will provide a VPC by default. Definitely, up to now, whatever the servers we create, everything we create on default VPC only. But in real time, we need to customize our VPC for getting more security and more privacy and to get the preventing loss of data. If you use default VPC, you don't get security. Is the point number 1 clear? If there is no security, we can lose our data or not, sir? By default, AWS will give some default VPC which we don't use. Why? Because default means it is not customized, right? We want to customize our own security. For that purpose, we will create our own VPC. Point clear, no? That's it. So now here, coming to the features of VPC. Sir, in VPC, first of all, it is logically isolated network. For example, you have server 1 on VPC number 1. For example, let's create, it is server number 1, which is running on VPC number 1. It is server number 1, which is running on my VPC number 1. Same like you have server number 2, which is running on VPC number. This server cannot able to communicate by default. Why? Because those are two different networks or not, sir? Whenever you are on one network and I am on different network, I cannot able to communicate with. That is what you call as isolation. Isolation means separation or not, sir? That's it. Then here, we can create maximum 5 VPCs in a single region. In a single region, how many VPCs we can create? And how many subnets? 200 subnets. Of course, I'll tell you about subnet. Subnet means it's a small part of your network. Subnet, that means inside your network, if we create a small part of it, then what we can call it as subnet. I'll tell you like how to create a subnet here. And how many maximum elastic IPs we can attach? 5 elastic IPs. How many? The meaning of elastic IP means, sir, when you create a server, when you stop the server and like when you restart it, what is going to happen, sir? Public IP address is going to change or not? If you don't want to change your public IP address, in real time, we don't change public IP address. Why? Because if public IP address will change, application is going to change frequently or not, sir? So for that purpose, what we are going to use is, we are going to use a concept called elastic IP. Which one? What is the meaning of elastic IP? If you give an elastic IP for your server, IP address will never change. Even though if you stop the server, if you start it, IP address is not going to. That is what you can call as elastic IP. So remember, elastic IP is very, very important. In real time, elastic IP we use for web servers. Which servers? Fine. Next year, once we create the VPC, right, we have DHCP. DHCP means Dynamic Host Control Protocol, and NACL as well, Network Access Control List. This security group will be created automatically. I'll tell you like how it is going to create. A VPC is confined to one region, does not exist between two regions. For example, if I create a VPC on Northern Virginia, it will be stay inside the Northern Virginia. I cannot see that VPC inside the Mumbai region. VPC can able to access only inside one region. We cannot able to access VPC on two different regions. And VPC we are going to create on region level, sir. Sir, in AWS, some resources you can create on region level and some resources you can create on availability zone level. For example, server availability zone level, EBS volume availability zone level, as well as buckets globally can be creatable. Okay, as well as some other resource we can able to create on region level. Okay, remember this point. VPC we can create for region, not for availability zone. Is the point clear for you? And if you create VPC on one region, we cannot able to access it on another region. Clear now, sir? Fine. Once your VPC is created, we cannot change it CIDR block. Some people call it CIDR as well. Basically, it's not CIDR. We need to call it CIDR only. Okay. CIDR block range means, for example, whenever you create the server is getting one IP address or not, sir? IP address range is 172.198. So and so. Your IP address of your server is going to depend upon CIDR range. Your IP address of your server is going to depend upon, if you give the CIDR 10 series, IP address will be on 10 series. If you do CIDR of 172 series, it will be 172 series only. If you give CIDR of 128 series, your IP address will be on. Your IP address range of your server is going to depend upon CIDR. Fine. If you need a different CIDR size, create a new VPC. For example, once I create a VPC, CIDR is going to attach. That means what exactly going to happen, you know? CIDR, if I attach for my VPC, we cannot change it. For example, let's see. It is my VPC, sir, for example. It is my VPC. Inside this VPC, I'm going to create lot of servers. I can create server number 1, server number 2, 3, 4, 5. I can create lot of servers. How these servers are going to get the IP address, you know? Here I'll define one CIDR range. For example, the CIDR range is 10.0.0.0/24. If I give like this now, all of my servers is going to have the 10 series IP address only. Which series? If I give here 172.0.0.0, all of my server is having the IP address of 172. If I give here 192, IP address range will be. So remember, your IP address range is always going to depend upon your CIDR block. Write this point. Very important point. Your IP address range is going to define on CIDR block. Sorry? Inside the VPC. We do have. I'll tell you how to calculate the range of IP address. Not able to see, eh? Okay. Your IP address is always going to depend upon your CIDR block. Clear for all of you? Fine. So then here, you can expand your VPC CIDR. For example, for CIDR, if I have one range, I can able to expand it, sir. Of course, when it comes to cloud, basically, you know how many types the cloud is categorized into? We have two types of clouds. First one is general cloud, which is going to use by all over the world. Second one is China cloud. Which cloud? Only China people can able to access, sir. Why? Because have you ever seen Chinese server hacked? No one can hack Chinese server. Why? Because they maintain some separate cloud. Why? Because if we hack the Chinese servers, we will come to know all of the what are the things they are going to do, right? So like I'll show it on a blog actually. If you go and type here China cloud, just type what is China cloud. Specifically, cloud technology refers networking, storage, computing, and so on. So 1 second. It's not the thing. Cloud in China. If you go and see, China public cloud is going to expected more than double of size for next few years. That means almost it is having the 32 billion revenue now as of 2021. But as of 2025, what is the revenue is going to be? That means Chinese people will not access the, will not use the cloud which is going to use by all over the globe. They will create the separate cloud. Even in AWS as well, they cannot able to communicate with global infrastructure. For those people, they will create the separate data centers which is going to isolate from all around the globe. That is what you can call as China cloud. Which one? So basically cloud is going to classify into two types. One is the cloud which is going to accessible globally. Second one, the cloud is going to accessible within the China. Even if you see, nobody can hack the Chinese servers. It is highly impossible. Because technically China is very, very strong than us when it comes to maintaining the server and everything. That is the reason why we cannot able to hack the Chinese server. If you ask me, in COVID, like everyone knows China is the culprit for the COVID. But why Indian hackers not able to hack their systems? They can hack, right? Indian hackers can hack the US systems and they can hack the Pakistan systems as well, right? US is far more advanced than India. Then why Indian people are not able to hack the Chinese system? This is the main reason. We cannot enter into the Chinese cloud. It's highly impossible. Clear now? That's it. Okay, sir, fine now. We have seen the features of VPC. Now come to the type of VPC. How many type of VPCs we have in general? Two types. One is the default VPC, which is given by the AWS people. Second one is our custom VPC. Which one? Default VPC till now we use it, sir. But now I am going to use the custom VPC. Means I can create my own virtual private cloud with my requirements. By default, AWS will give, but that is not going to use on real time. We will create our own VPC and we will define our own network. Why? Because if we use the default network of AWS VPC, we can expose the application to outer world. Is it a good thing, sir? No, we need to give our own custom networking rules. For that purpose, which VPC we gonna create? Custom or default? Custom VPC. Till now we used which VPC? And now currently we are using which VPC? Custom VPC. Fine. Now here are you seeing the architecture? So this is going to be very, very important. If we understand this architecture only, then only you can be able to work on real time. Otherwise, we cannot able to work, sir. Why? Because, you know, whenever we are creating infrastructure, the first thing you are going to create is VPC only. Your AWS work start with which one? VPC. Without creating VPC, you cannot create anything. Okay. The first component we are going to create in terms of infrastructure is VPC only. Write this point as a note. Is it clear, sir? Fine now. So in this VPC, what exactly going to happen is, let's understand like how it is going to work. You know 3-tier architecture? Can anyone tell me 3-tier architecture? Web server, app server, database server, correct? So here I am taking two servers. Forget about the database. I'm, for example, here I am taking two servers. Sir, web server can be publicly exposed, but can we expose application server publicly? Can we expose database server publicly? No. For example, I'll tell you like how it is going to work. For example, it is a user. This user want to get some application. Oh, worst user. Let me try it neatly. Are? Handicapped user. Somewhat better. Let me give some cap for him. Okay, and some shoes as well. Some good shoes. Huh? Shirt also you wanted? Shirt means how to draw this one. Jacket. Fine. Okay. So now, for example, that is the user. He wants to access my application. So whenever a user sends the request, first of all, it should pass to load balancer. That point you know, right? But before passing to the load balancer, the request first of all need to reach the internet or not, sir? From the internet, first of all, it will go to internet gateway. Which gateway? Then here you have the load balancer. Basically, it is a like process how it is going to work. Let me undo this one. So whenever user send the request, it will go to internet gateway from internet. From the internet, it is going to go for the internet gateway. Sir, here you have two servers. First of all, web server. Which server is that? Like, let me write this one. For example, the first one is going to be my web server. And it is going to be my app server. Sir, in web server, you have the front end part of the application. But in app server, you have the back end part of application. For example, let's see here. Sir, web server, anyone need to access. Why? Because from there only you are going to see the application. Correct or not, sir? But whenever you are creating web server, you can host it on public subnet. Public subnet means everyone can able to access. Public subnet means, to tell this example, like I'll take one example which I have shown you previously, like it's our home example only. For example, let's consider it is our home for a few minutes. Okay. So now find here what exactly I'm going to tell you is, so listen to the concept very carefully. Sir, whenever a person is passing in front of our home, for example, this wall is VPC. This VPC is protecting all of these servers. In our home also, our wall is going to protect all of our rooms or not, sir? Whenever a person is passing, he is able to see the lawn. We can allow him to see the lawn. Why? Because in lawn, we don't have much things, right? Of course, let's take garden. Everyone can see the garden or not, sir? So garden, I will construct on public space, open space. That means everyone can see it. There is no restriction. Correct or not, sir? Here also, web server, I am going to launch on public subnet. That means everyone need to access. Why? Because my complete application can able to visible with the help of public subnet only. Web server only, right? If a user want to access a server, I will give public subnet. Like here, other people want to see my garden. So I'm going to construct it inside the public space only. Correct or not, sir? But sir, at the same time, when user is passing through my home, can I allow him to see my bedroom here? We're going to restrict or not? Here also, whenever a user try to access our server, application server, we need to create a private subnet. Private subnet means user cannot access it. User cannot. Subnets are two types: public subnet, private subnet. Public subnet means user can access. That means we have IP address. Private subnet means user cannot. So which server we want to create on publicly? Why? Because from that server only user can see the application. Second server is the application server. We cannot create the application server publicly. Why? Because in that server we have the code, sir. In that server we have the, if I give public IP address, anyone can able to see it, which is not a good thing. For that purpose, what we are going to do, we are going to create the application server on private subnet. Which subnet? For a private subnet, whenever you create a server on private subnet, we don't have public IP address. So write this point. Subnets are two types. First one public, second one is private. Whatever the points I tell, like please write that points only. How many type of subnets we have? First one, public subnet. Second one, private. For public subnet, we do have public IP address or not, sir? So how many type of subnets we have? Two. First one public, second one is for public subnet. Do we have public IP address? For private subnet, do we have public subnet? Sorry, public IP, we don't, right? Web server we launch on public subnet. Why? Because it want to visible Okay. For application server and database server, we won't give the public subnet. We will give the private subnet only. Clear now? Fine. So now what exactly I'm going to do here, sir? So application server is having the application code. It is going to communicate with web server. How the communication is going to happen? With the help of NAT gateway. NAT gateway send the information from application server to web server. That means application is on private. Web is on public. If I want to establish connection between private subnet and public subnet, I will use NAT gateway. Which gateway? NAT gateway will transfer the information of private subnet to public subnet with the help of NAT gateway only. Second one, internet gateway. I want to transfer the information from the public subnet. I use internet gateway. For private subnet, transferring of information is going to be done by NAT gateway. For public server, transferring of information is going to be done by internet gateway. Clear, sir? Fine. So now whatever the stuff here we have seen, I'm going to show it practically. I'm going to create one VPC. I'm going to create the web server and application server, and I'm going to show you how to establish connection between them. So now how to do it means, but before that, components we need to see. Already you know private subnet, public subnet, right? NAT gateway means it will transfer the information from application server to, that means simply private to public. And internet gateway, transfer the information from public subnet to internet. One more thing is route table. Route table is nothing but your database of your traffic. Whatever the incoming request, whatever the outgoing responses, everything is going to store on the route table only. Where it is going to store? Route table. So first of all, subnet. Subnet means I already said it's a small part of your network. Whenever you want to create a server on some availability zone, then we are going to use some subnet. Routing table, already I said. So your incoming request and outgoing response is going to store on route table only. Simply it is database of our VPC. That means how the data is entering into your VPC, how the data is going to serve to the clients. NAT gateway already we seen. Attached for public subnet, but it is going to serve for private subnet only. But we are going to communicating with the help of public subnet. Internet gateway, you know. Transfer data from web server to web server to public internet. So now I'll tell the practical part. Why? Because theory is going to be very, very boring here. So we'll go for practical. Here, end-to-end steps I have given one by one. What is your step number one? We want to create the VPC. Go here and try to click on VPC. Currently, how many VPC you have here? One VPC. Click on VPC. Of course, you can create on Mumbai and Northern Virginia as well. Let me go to Northern Virginia. Currently, Northern Virginia. How many VPC I have, sir? One VPC. Click on create VPC. VPC name I am giving it as Swiggy. What I am giving it as? CIDR range I am going to give it as 10.0.0.0/60. Tenancy make it as default. Click on create VPC. Now is your VPC created? I'm going to draw the diagram parallelly for your clarity. First of all, here I created the VPC. What I created? Inside this VPC, now I'm going to create the public subnet. Public subnet means I'm going to attach for which server, web server or not, sir? So here I'm going to create the public subnet. PUBSN. PUBSN means public subnet, sir. Public subnet for which server? Web server. Go to subnets. Create subnet. I am creating the subnet for which VPC? Swiggy VPC. And subnet name is Swiggy, or just to give web subnet. Which one? Web subnet is for web server. Availability zone, you can select whatever availability zone I want. I want US East 1 only. CIDR block, I am going to make it as 10.0.0.0/16 is the by default thing. But here I am going to take it as 24. Or you can mark it as 16 as well. Of course, if you give 16 as well, that is fine, absolutely. That's it. Now this subnet I'm going to use for web server, or you can give the public subnet as well. Guys, it's up to your choice. Naming convention is your choice. Let me give it as public subnet. Simply pub subnet. Which one? Pub means public subnet here. So I am creating it on US East 1. That's it, fine. Click on create subnet. Oh, tag CIDR block. Okay. 0.0.0/24. It is the range I want actually. You subnet created now. Sir, I want to create one more subnet, that is private subnet. For which VPC? Swiggy VPC. And give the command PRV. PRV means private subnet. Availability zone. I want to create it on US East 1B or 1A also fine. Here I am giving the range as 10.0.0.0/ I mean, like here just to give one 10.0.0.1.0/16 or 24 is fine. It is the range. If you put /16, how many IP address you are getting, sir? 65 IP address, 65K almost. But if you give /24, how many IP address will you get? 256. But if you give /32, how many IP address will you get? One IP address only. So if you give /30, how many IP address you will get? If you give /28. For 28, how many IP address you will get? These are the IP address ranges actually. So always it is better to give /16. Why? Because you have wider range of IP address. Clear now? So click on create subnet. Oh, IP address overlaps. Okay, fine. It is going to overlap. Okay, fine. 24. Okay, both. Oh, sorry. Basically, I have given their 16, right? What is the previous subnet I have given? 10.0. Last 24 I have given. Oh, 1 second. I forgot what I have given. Let me check. The range is 10.0.0.0/24. Okay, fine. Click on create subnet. Select VPC Swiggy. Subnet, PRV subnet. Private subnet. Availability zone, of course, you can take an US East 1A or 1B. So just to give the 10.0.1.0/24. Done now? So here if you click on create subnet, your subnet is creating automatically. Currently, how many subnets you have for Swiggy? First one is public subnet. Second one is, sir, tell me one thing, for public subnet, which gateway we want to attach? Internet gateway or not gateway? Yeah? So go for internet gateway. Don't go for route table. No, first of all, go to internet gateway. In internet gateway, click on create internet gateway. My internet gateway name is Swiggy Internet. Swiggy IGW. Click on the internet gateway. Sir, now internet gateway you created, you want to attach this internet gateway to your Swiggy subnet or not, sir? Swiggy VPC. Click on attach to VPC. I am going to attach it to the Swiggy. It is your step number 3. So now you can go for routes and click on create route table. Route table name is Swiggy public route table. PUBRT. Public route table. And this route table I am attaching for which VPC? Swiggy VPC. Sir, now you create the route table, sir. Route table is nothing but database of your traffic or not, sir? For public server, we need to get requests from all over the globe or not. For that purpose, here we need to give the traffic rule. How to give it means click on edit routes, add route table. I am going to give it as all traffic. 0.0.0.0/ means you can access it from anywhere, correct or not? And I am targeting for which gateway? Internet gateway or not gateway? Internet gateway. It is my internet gateway. Now what happened, the moment if you allow the routes, anyone can able to access your application. If you don't give the route table, people cannot access your applications. Point clear? Your step number 1 is I created the VPC. After I created one public subnet and one for public subnet, we need to attach internet gateway or not, sir? I create the internet gateway and attach the internet gateway for my VPC. Next, you create the server. I mean, like you create the subnet, you create the internet gateway, but we need to allow traffic or not, sir? If you want to allow traffic, you need to go for route table. Why? Because route table is going to deal with traffic. Go for route table, create the route table, and for which VPC you want to attach? Swiggy VPC. And go for edit routes, you need to give all traffic. The moment if you edit the routes, right? Sir, currently, you created the route table. You have given all traffic. That means all people want to access my web server or not, sir? You created the routes, but you haven't given the server here. Go to subnet association. I want to give my web server for this route table. Web server means public subnet or private subnet. Now web server is going to get this routing tables. That means this destination, like whatever here you are seeing, from this particular path, your web server is going to receive the traffic. If you don't give this, it is not going to work. To show it practically, now what I'm going to do is, I'll go to EC2 instance and I'll try to create one server. And I'll host some application there, you'll get some clarity. Click on launch instance. Code here, I'm going to give it as, which code it is like? Let me take it as web server. Web server of Swiggy, for example. Amazon Linux 2. Key pair. So by default here we don't have any key pair. Let me create a new key pair. Swiggy VPC KP. Sir, here we need to give all traffic or not, sir? By default here we have only default security group and go for network. Which one we want to select now? Swiggy network. For Swiggy network, which subnet? Public or private? Public. Why? Because web server means always public. Auto SN, we need to click on enable. Why? Because public server need to have public IP address. If it is private subnet, do we require a public IP address for it? No. Go for security rules here. Click on create security. Give the traffic as all. Add SH. All traffic, yeah. Now the server is going to launch, sir. Now go to web server, try to connect with it, and here are we having public IP address or not, sir? Why we are having public IP address for it? Because we launched it on public subnet. For public subnet, you will get the public IP address. Here, what I'm gonna do is now here, like simply I'm gonna install Apache, and I'll show you the application launching, and I'll make you try to access the application. Sudo -i yum install httpd-y systemctl start and give the systemctl status. Apache running here. What is the path now? cd var www html. Now go and create some index.html. vam index. Already you know how to create your own index.html. Go for W3 Schools login page. Or of course you can use your Netflix application source code as well. Depends upon you. I am using just this one. Copy the code from here and paste it here. If you want, you can deploy a Netflix application. We have already code on our GitHub. If you copy the public IP address now. Sir, from this public IP address, are we able to access the application? Can you tell me? Even if you try with this IP address, you can get the application, sir. Just try it on your mobiles once. I'll give the IP address for you. This is the IP address. 1 second. Go for text. HTTP is not required. Just run that public IP address. HTTP:// is not required. Even for online, I'm also giving this for you. Try this one. That means here we create one custom VPC. In that custom VPC, I create the public subnet. In that public subnet, we launch our own application. Correct or not, sir? Sir, web server is launched. Next, second one, what we want to launch here? Application server. Sir, for application server, which one we are going to use now? Create one more server. I'll tell you the process. NAT gateway. I'm asking about subnet. Which subnet? Public subnet or private subnet? So here just give app server. And here go to edit. So you need to select here which one, guys? Swiggy. And come into the subnet. Which subnet? For private subnet, do you have public IP address? Click on disable. Go for existing security group, give all traffic here. Sir, if I try to connect this server, what happens, sir? If I try to connect with this server, what will happen now? Can I able to connect? No, why we can't able to connect? Because it is private subnet. For private subnet, we don't have public. Without public IP address, how can we connect, sir? By PEM key, correct. In real time, your communication between servers will happen on private IP address only. You will never expose public IP address apart from web server. How many servers you have? Every server is going to communicate with the help of private IP address within the VPC. The only server which is having public IP means web servers. Okay. If you go and select the application server, here you cannot able to connect, sir. Why? Because there is no public IP address. Even though if you don't have public IP address, we can connect with our web server. Currently, I cannot able to connect with application server. Why? Because there is no public IP address. For that purpose, what I'm going to do is, I'll go to my web server. From the web server, I'll connect, sir. How to connect means, copy the PEM key. VM, what is my PEM key name here? Swiggy VPC.pem. Try to create this PEM file. .pem. In this PEM file, you have some content or not, sir? Copy this content, paste it here. Now give the permission. I want to give executable permission for only group. chmod 400 for Swiggy VPC.pem. Sir, now what is going to happen, the moment if I try to run this command, copy this command and directly paste it. Currently I'm on which server, web server or application server? But from the web server, am I able to connect to app server now? What happened means we cannot able to communicate with application server. Why? Because application is not having public IP. Na? For that purpose, I am going to web server. In that web server, I copied the PEM file and I given the executable permission from the public server. Now you are communicating with private. Communicating means you are connected. If you want to check what is the IP address here, 10.01.237. Go and check here. The private IP address of this server is 10 series or not, sir? Click on this one for your application server. 10.01.237. Here also 10.01.237. Both IP addresses are matching or not? That means is your web server or app server now? App server. You are connecting from? Sir, now communication, this application server want to communicate with my web server. If you go and see the diagram here, in the diagram, what is mentioned here? Oh, 1 second. Here is a PDF. Here, completely, my private server is going to communicate with public server with the help of which gateway? Do we have NAT gateway now? As of now, do you have NAT gateway? We don't have. If you want to see, just go and go see here. Try to ping the server. Just to give the command ping google.com. Sir, it is not able to ping the Google server, sir. Why? Because there is no internet connection. For that purpose, what I'm going to do is, again, I'll go to VPC here. To communicate with public server. That means my private server want to communicate with public server. I need to create the NAT gateway first. Go to NAT gateway. Do you have any NAT gateway here? Click on create NAT gateway. The NAT gateway name is Swiggy NAT gateway. Swiggy NAT. Subnet. Sir, here I want to select which subnet now? Public subnet or private subnet? Private subnet. Why? Because NAT gateway is for private subnet only. So select private subnet here. Connectivity is public only. Oh, select the connectivity. Yeah. So this NAT gateway we are going to connect with public subnet only. So click on allocate elastic IP. Click on NAT gateway. Now what is going to happen? NAT gateway I created for my private subnet, but it is going to communicate with public subnet. But sir, if NAT gateway, like my private subnet, want to send data for my public subnet, we need to give the routing table or not, sir? Without creating the routing table, we cannot transfer the data from one subnet to. Already we create one route table that is for public subnet only. But for private subnet, we need to create the route table one more time. Create route table. App route table. This one. App route table. VPC. Swiggy VPC. Now we create the route table. So click on edit routes. We need to send the traffic here. And it is for which gateway? Internet gateway or NAT gateway? Select the NAT gateway. Sir, now here, this NAT gateway, you are connecting with which server now? Private, right? Click on private subnet, click on save. Now, after a few seconds, your server is going to get the response now. Wait for a few seconds. It won't replicate immediately. It will take 10 seconds to 1 minute in the buffer time. Now you will get the IP address. So here I have given NAT gateway and here I have given subnet association. Which one I have associated, public or private? Here also if you go and see, sir, just observe this one. If you go and see here, route table we create for application. Correct or not, sir? And subnet association we have give for only, that means same process or not. Whatever the process I have shown you, live notes I have written here. Now if you go and check, is your server getting the response now? No. Just end this one and try to give it one more time. Getting the response now? Basically, data is transmitting. Why? Because if you see 187 packets transmitted means the data is transferring, but it is not replicating. Let me go to sudo -i and give ping. Let me ping this public IP address. Try to ping this one. Once again. NAT gateway I have created. Fine. So this NAT gateway connectivity public only, right? Okay. One second. Connectivity public is fine. One second. Process correct on right. Whenever we create the NAT gateway here, subnet web server kada I think web server. Web server or app server I have given. Sure, huh? Oh, wait. I think that's the reason why it is not replicating. Basically, give me 1 second. Swiggy NAT gateway connectivity is public only. Guys, give me 1 second actually. A small mistake happened here. Connectivity public. Let me delete this one. Why? Because NAT gateway we are going to attach for a public subnet, right? But here, let's just use Swiggy NAT. Subnet. Here, which one I want to give now? Public. Connectivity public. A small mistake actually. So previously, by mistakenly, I might give you a private. By mistakenly, I might have you. But okay, fine. Create this NAT gateway. And again, for this NAT gateway, we need to create one more route table. Why? Because old one I have deleted, right? Click on route table, app, RTB. New route table it is. So the moment if you click the route table now, so for this route table, click on edit routes, go for add route. We need to give this one. And here, which one we want to give now? Internet or NAT gateway? NAT gateway. It is my NAT gateway. Which one? First one or second one? Basically, I created two NAT gateways. Here it is showing both. First one or second one. If we want to have this clarity, what I'll do is, I'll take one duplicate tab. In this duplicate tab, can we compare the IDs of NAT gateway or not, sir? Why? Because whenever you have multiple NAT gateways, we need to check which one is correct there. So go here and go for the NAT gateway. Recently, I created the NAT gateway, this one. This is my new NAT gateway. What is the ID for NAT gateway here? 0635. Second one or not, sir? So this is the correct one. Currently, if you go, this state is pending status now. Which one? So now what I'm going to do is, here again I'll go for subnet association. In subnet association, edit subnet, click on private subnet now. The moment if I select the private subnet now, click on refresh. So currently NAT gateway is still creating, wait for a few seconds. Once your setup is done right, you can go for your EC2 instance and you can check data is going to be transmitted now. Just to give PS command. Okay. Just to give the command ping 54 dot. Data transmitting now. Previously it is not transferred. Why? Because by mistakenly I thought I have given the private, but sorry, I thought I have given the public, but unfortunately I selected the private there. Why? Because both is starting with P letter, right? So I can't by mistakenly it is done. But remember, whenever you are allocating the NAT gateway, we need to select the public only. Which one we need to select? Here, what is the mistake I have done is I selected the private instead of public. So now your private IP, I mean like your private server is communicating with public server or not, sir? Now it can send the data, it can receive the data as well. In real time, application we are never going to expose, sir. Why? Because if you expose the application server with the help of public IP address of your application server, anyone can able to log in. If they log into your server, they can see the code of your application or not, sir. For that purpose, we will expose the web server. Web server is going to deal with users. User cannot able to communicate with app server, sir. Why? Because app server is not having the public IP, correct or not? To explain this concept, simple meaning means like I'll tell you one simple definition. For example, in our school days, if you like one girl, what you are going to do? You are going to tell to your friend. You want your friend to tell that girl is he is liking you, correct or not? In general scenarios. Here you means application server. Who is you? Your friend is app server and that girl is user. Sir, application server cannot expose to the user, sir. Like we cannot tell directly answer to the beautiful girl whom we think actually. For that purpose, we are using the web server or not, sir? Here who is web server? Our friend. Correct or not? Your friend will transfer the information to that girl. And whatever the girl wants, again, communication is going to happen with the web server only, right? That communication between application server and user is going to transmitted by the help of web server only. If it is good, web server gives you the information. If it is not good, web server will block it. But directly we cannot able to access the application server. Entire communication is going to transmit with the help of that too with the help of which gateway? NAT gateway only. With the help of NAT gateway only, private server communicate with public server. And how public server is going to communicate with the user? Internet gateway. NAT gateway is going to establish communication between private and public. Internet gateway is going to establish communication between public to user. This is the VPC. But again, we have spent this much of time to create VPC, right? In Terraform, same VPC we can create within 10 seconds. How many seconds? 10 seconds is maximum enough to create VPC, subnet, internet gateway, NAT gateway, route table. Here it is manual process. Na? AWS manual is very boring. So from Monday onwards, we are going to start Terraform. So very interesting as well as very important tool for the entire DevOps. Basically for AWS, we have few topics to cover. CLI is pending. SNS SQS is pending. RDS also pending. You want to complete these AWS topics first, Terraform next, or you want to start with Terraform first? Complete AWS. Okay, then in Monday, I'll try to cover SNS, SQS, and CLI. Why? Because these are very small topics actually. From Tuesday onwards, we'll start Terraform. Okay. So this is the concept of VPC. And one more important thing about VPC, right? You need to know about the class of VPC. You know VPC classes? How many classes we have on VPC? 5 classes. It's not 4 actually. Class A, B, C, D, and D. Class A range is 1 to 126. What is the Class A range? Class B range 128 to 191. Class C range 192 to 233. I mean, sir, 223. This is the range of IP addresses. This is what range of? Class D and Class C we will never use on real time, sir. But Class D is for a result for multicasting purpose and Class C is for experimental purpose. Again, how many classes we have here? Class A range is 1 to 127. Basically 126 only, not 127. Class B range is to 128 to 191. Class C range 192 to 223. Class D 224 to 239. From 240 to 254 completely is Class E range. In real time, we will prefer Class A, Class B, and Class C only. We don't use Class D and Class E. And one more thing, if you observe here, there is no range of 127. Why 127 is not used for any class? No, basically we use it for testing purpose. In real time, if you want to communicate with your, for example, I have my server. If my server want to communicate with itself, then we are going to use the 127 range. 127.0.0.1 means our server is going to communicate with itself with that port number. Never ever you will touch the 127 series. Why? Because 127 series is to communicating our server with itself. Clear now? That's it. And one more important thing is in interview they are going to ask the difference between IPv4 and IPv6. Can anyone tell me the IPv4 and IPv6 difference here? I think in VPC this concept definitely need to know. Okay, IPv4 32-bit, IPv6. Okay, then. Okay. Fine. So IPv4 is 32-bit as per you said. IPv6 is IPv4 means Internet Protocol version 4. IPv6 means Internet Protocol version number. Sir, for IPv4, you have the dot separation. If you go and see, IPv4 is having the dot separation or not, sir? For each and every character. But IPv6 will have colon. What IPv6 will have? IPv4 having numbers. IPv6 is having alphabetical and IPv4 is largely used. IPv6 is not that much of used like in real time. Completely we will use with IPv4 only. So again 32-bit for IPv4 and for IPv6 IPv4 separated by IPv6 separated by IPv4 consists of IPv6 and which one is mostly used? IPv4. You know AWS is going to charge your IP address from the February 2024. Why? Because lot of people are not using the IPv6 address, right? To promote the IPv4 address, to promote the IPv4, AWS people is going to charge the IPv4 usage. Per an hour, your bill is going to be $0.0005. If you start using the public IP address, IPv4 address, you need to pay the billing of $0.005. That means almost all it will be like 4 rupees per hour, I think so. I'm not sure. I need to check it once. $0.005. Clear now? So that's it, sir. About the VPC. And remember, VPC is going to be very, very important. Why? Because your infrastructure is going to completely start with the help of VPC only. Again, it is a difficult part on all of the AWS topics, whatever we learn now. VPC is difficult. If you practice 3 or 4 times, then only it is going to get clarity. Some topics we cannot explain on easiest method. It is always going to be difficult method only. Of course, we need to practice it. Then only you can able to understand the VPC concept. So that's it about the VPC, sir. And of course, VPC you can create automatically as well in AWS, but which is not necessary. Why? Because in real time you are going to create VPC and everything with the help of Terraform only. That is going to be your next topic. Now, in today's class, if you are having any doubts or queries, you can ask me. Of course, concept is tough, I know. But again, VPC we need to practice. Basically, that won't happen in real time. Definitely need to get the NAT only. NAT gateway create cheyakunda, if you want to connect, how to give the routes for it. Route table ela istam. Koncham gatti adaga question. Not able to hear your voice. Come here, better. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You can basically you have the concept of a Bastion host, you know. Bastion host means it's a single host where you can connect with all servers. Because they're going to connect. But it is not going to how the real time works. Definitely you need to create the NAT gateway and that only you need to attach for your servers. Definitely me cost ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేయాలంటే రియల్ టైమ్ లో యూ వాంట్ టు ఆప్టిమైజ్ ద కాస్ట్, రైట్? ఇప్పుడు మీరు కాస్ట్ ఆప్టిమైజ్ చేయాలంటే దాన్ని యూజ్ చేయకూడదు. అందుకే రియల్ టైమ్ లో అది వాడరని చెప్పాను. ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ యూజ్ యూ కెన్ యూజ్, బట్ అది మీకు వాడితే బిల్లింగ్ పడుతుంది. బట్ హియర్ ఆర్ యూ గోయింగ్ టు గెట్ ఎనీ బిల్? బిల్లింగ్ అయితే రావదు కదా. దట్స్ ఇట్. సార్ DevOps come in the software field or infrastructure field? Entire. We are like all-rounders. You need to create the infra, you need to deploy the software, you need to maintain the servers. entire everything. Both the combination of all works, from writing the code to deploying. Of course, we don't write the codes, but company will expect us to write the code. And even if you see some job description, some companies used to ask you need to have some coding skills as well. Why? Because they want to reduce the cost. If they hire one developer, if they hire one DevOps engineer, they need to maintain 2 employees and they need to pay a salary for 2 people, right? But if you're a DevOps engineer, if you know how to write the code, then they need to maintain only one person. They can give salary for only you, right? This is how companies will think actually. Like a full stack. Even full stack means writing the code from testing part, even deploying on the AWS cloud as well. Of course, like they are the ones who is having the highest salaries actually, full stack developers, after data scientists. And one more thing, recently one of my students got the job. Have you seen? I posted on LinkedIn. He is a fresher actually. He got the package of 4.15 lakh in Capgemini. How much? Guys, for fresher, 4.15 lakh is not a small thing. In particular, DevOps I'm talking about. His name is Mohammed Imran. Like actually, I posted this on LinkedIn. Like, let me show you. Why? Because if I tell you anything, that must be practically proven. That's the reason. Like I'll show you everything lively. It is happened. Why? Because you want to believe it in order to achieve. Seen this one? The offer letter actually. So basically, he's a student from my 27th April. 27th April means I almost will complete this batch on April, May, June. June end or July starting. I'm not sure when the batch is completed. So let's take July, August, September, October. So within 2 months only he got the job. He prepared very well. Like during his course, right? He came to lab every day and he'll take some suggestion from me like how to prepare. But at the end of the day, from LinkedIn only he got the interview schedule, I think. So I'm not sure from which platform it is. But definitely, if he can do it, you can also do it, right? In my last batch as well, 6 p.m. batch recently closed. We have a person called Vinod. Anyone knows him? So he also got the job with the experience of 4 years. Guys, getting the job is not a difficult thing, guys. The only thing is how much you are preparing. Same subject I'm going to teach you for all of you in a equal manner. But all of you are going to get jobs. The person who worked hard, they are only going to get the jobs. That's the reason I'm asking you to prepare well. Of course, if you come to lab, you'll have a lot of flexibilities. Even though if you don't come to lab, try to prepare on your home. If you are having any doubts or queries, come to me and speak with me. Okay? That's it for today.